Hello, it is Martina, and today we will be talking about a very important topic, and that is motherhood, babies, and their sleep. Hello, ladies. I want to say ladies and gentlemen, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be mostly ladies. I am here with Jen Harrison from Jen and the Night Owls. I met you by random luck. I was in Notting Hill with my baby, truly sleep deprived, happy mom, but very sleep deprived. And there was a very nice lady with her bubbly daughter who said to me, "There is a person who can save you. You can survive this." And then she mentioned Jen and her amazing company that deals with helping moms and little teeny tiny babies who refuse to sleep and have trouble getting their night's sleep. So Jen, how did the science come about? How did this develop, the science about baby sleep?
Well, I'd been working for quite some time with little babies and had noticed that, maybe 20, 25, 30 years ago, there was a big extended family around the mum and there was lots of support. But my generation of women, we raised your generation of women to believe that you didn't have to be just one thing. You didn't have a defined role. So you could go out to work and you could be an equal partner in this relationship, but most of us forgot to raise our boys in the same way, so that the boys would expect that they would take a share of the emotional load at home. And I found that what was happening was these women were becoming isolated with families that had moved away and were bearing the load of having to go back to work much earlier than they would have used to, because they were financially contributing to the home, and they were sleep deprived and they were really tired, and they were doing things that were a quick fix, like they were feeding their babies to sleep, which when they're tiny, there's nothing wrong with that. But as they get older, they were then dependent on feeding their babies to sleep. And some of them were still feeding 2 and 3 year olds to sleep. And so I started to experiment with different ways that we could get these babies to be more independent in their sleep without being nasty and cruel to them and just leaving them to cry. And without mums taking this shortcut that fixed it for now, but that meant I'm going back to work on Monday and I'm still rocking and feeding my baby to sleep and nobody else can put my baby to sleep and help. What do I do? So that was how this whole business that we now have developed, really, with looking at mums in individual situations, looking at the support networks that they had around them or didn't have around them, and finding ways that we could help their babies to sleep better at night, so the mum was not sleep deprived, so she could enjoy her children and so she could also go out and be the functioning person she needed to be in the workplace.
So I think it's so beautiful that you just described, that there's more than just a baby that refuses to sleep, and that, it's always also about the partnership within the house and the support that most of the time nowadays is lacking. One of the comments you told me is when I said, "Why is this so hard?" I remember, I think it was the first meeting, you said, "It's because you don't have the village around you."
Yeah.
I really, truly am grateful that I had the chance to meet you, and because it is such truly a life-changing experience, having that support system that you bring about, and also the awareness and the intellect behind the patterns and the science of baby sleep.
I'm really glad to hear that, because I think, like you're saying with the grandparent generation, they looked after you while you looked after your baby. And any good maternity nurse or any good sleep coach, it's my job to look after you,
right,
so that you can look after your baby. So I guess in some respects, what we're trying to do is to bridge that gap that's there now and be your village.
One of the things that I think is quite shocking and sad, the governments don't really see mothers as hardworking people that are really supposed to, in fact, be paid fully for their time away from work to attend to raising kids. And I know that we are still so far away from that. Why in schools are we not educated that we need to have support systems? Why are we almost shaming moms to think that you are a bad mom if you need any sort of help? Why is this still such a big part of our culture?
I think that's the most enormous question. I think there's a lot of history involved with it. And, you know, when we were saying right at the beginning about how my generation has raised your
Right.
generation to be different, and a lot of us forgot to raise the boys to be different. What we actually taught you was that there was a big wide world out there, and we showed you that the world's your oyster, and you can be and you can do whatever you want to do. And like I say, we forgot to raise the boys, a lot of the boys, in the same way. And as a result of that, we turned you into these competitive women that have got to excel at everything to prove what we wanted to prove, that a woman could do whatever a man could do with one hand tied behind her back.
And more.
And more. And that has resulted, I think, in this competition that you feel like you've got to do absolutely everything perfectly and really well. You've got to perform in the workplace, and you've got to be the best mum on the block to your baby. And I think there's been a downfall with social media. I think it's a great thing, and I think it's a curse, because it's turned motherhood into a competition where women sadly are not building each other up. They're tearing each other down in order to build themselves up. And this is resulting in lots and lots of women who no longer trust their instincts and their ability to be a good mum. There's no such thing as the perfect mum. You know, you're all out there aiming to be the best possible mum that you can. And we forget to tell you that that is enough, that is more than enough. And I think that there could be a real turnaround if every woman that is on social media stopped the naming and shaming, stopped trying to tear other people down in order to build herself up, and started to notice where women are hurting, and just made one kind comment, one supportive comment a day. If every woman that's a mother stopped pretending it was easy and recognised that it's as difficult as it is, and came alongside another mum and gave them support, we could turn this around in no time. We really could.
Thank you so much for saying that.
Yeah, you're wonderful.
Got a little bit, thank you, emotional. Such an emotional topic for anybody and everybody who is a mom. Doesn't matter if they have a career outside of being the most amazing career, which is being a mom. It is impossible not to feel really emotional about this topic. So thank you for saying this.
I think, you know, the thing is that you say you're thrown into it. And I went to school and studied this stuff for years, you know, and I've been working with children for the last 40 odd years. And you go to the hospital and 24 hours later, you come out with a baby and you're expected to know what you need to do. And a number of years ago, the real value of motherhood struck me when I worked for a lovely gentleman who'd lost his wife when his daughter was 3. And he'd replaced that woman with a gardener, a housekeeper, and me, and had to pay us all. You know, so when the actual role of motherhood is devalued, and how many times do we hear, oh, she's just a stay-at-home mum? You know, if somebody was doing what you're doing, it would cost thousands of pounds a month.
I become furious when I hear this, even though I'm very happy having a career, and I see having a career as being privileged enough to have a career next to taking care of my family. I also think that I come from a mom who has been so dedicated to her career. She's a dentist, and she told me, so on one spectrum, I know that I'm privileged to be able to have a career outside of my household. For my mom, it was more a necessity, although she adored it, but it was a necessity. My parents both had to work 24/7. Now, in her later stage of the career, she's so happy to be the nurturing mom and to cook and to hug me all the time and kiss me. And we have often these discussions where my mom says, yes, this was literally a survival instinct. I had to go out there. I had to really work hard to earn that salary in post-war Croatia, where there was so little, really. We're so polarized, right? There is a community of moms who are homestay moms, and then there's a community of women that are so dedicated to their careers. And then we have men And the general society, you're just a mom, just a mom. She doesn't work, but her husband is a banker. What the hell are they talking about? It makes me so angry and upset because this concept should not exist at all. So people like you help bridge this gap because with your expertise, you bring awareness to everybody really, especially to the partners, because it is so important that men understand this concept and that we crush this idea that is completely wrong. And that should start with our partners acknowledging, oh my goodness, this is all of these things are motherhood. And here I am thinking that, you know,
you were on a walk in the park.
Exactly. You know, and you're still...
What have you done all day?
Exactly. And, you know, oh, I had this meeting and this, and you're thinking, the baby didn't eat anything for the last 8 hours. My breasts are clogged. I didn't get the chance to wash my hair. Please don't touch me. I'm stinky. The baby doesn't sleep, and they just think, well, you didn't do much. You know, you're lounging around the sofa, and you didn't serve me a really beautifully cooked meal.
And, you know, I had one mum that used to get that a lot from her husband, and she used to phone me and she'd say, he doesn't understand. He comes home at the end of the day. I've been working all day. The place is a mess. What have you been doing? And she was a teacher, and when the baby was still quite small, on a Saturday, she had to go into school one day for a parents' day. And when she got home that evening, she phoned me and she said, the dad is sitting in the car crying. So I said, well, what happened? And she said, the baby hasn't napped all day, the baby hasn't eaten all day, he's tearing his hair out, the baby's cried all day. And my response was good. Good. Because now he will know what you do all day.
We had a very candid conversation when you asked me, how was your birth? How was your pregnancy? And I was so stunned by your questions because nobody really cares to ask. And so we're so educated to, deliver the baby. I got out of the hospital 2 hours later after an extremely traumatic experience, which...
It was one of the worst birth stories I'd ever heard. And I don't think anybody had ever validated that to you.
And I think that's where my problems definitely were circling around that I'm such a high level performer. I work hard at work. I'm a great attentive partner. I am a great stepmom, delivering results on all the levels and still managing to look good and hit the gym and eat healthy and always have a big smile and ready to hug whoever needs a hug and a very cheerful person. But it was a very difficult time for me being this performer and everybody expecting for me to continue on doing that. Whereas I was, wait, hold on a minute. What the F just happened to me? And this feeling of having lost the control and not having any control over my birth process and having no say as to what is being done to me. And always being such a responsible person to say, you have the responsibility over your actions. Whereas in the birth process, this is not so.
It was all taken away from you.
Exactly. And then the first time that my partner really heard this truth that should never, ever, ever be questioned was from you. So for months, I was saying to him, but I feel this way. Don't you understand that this is my reality now? Do you not understand how terrible this was for me? Or not even using these kinds of strong words because I felt also ashamed that I'm feeling this way. Exactly. So the moment where you as an expert come in and you and I are conversing and he's around passively kind of hearing what you're saying. And then you just looked at him with your beautiful deep eyes and you said, she needs help. This is not okay. This was the first time that he really heard it. And then after meeting you, he took my hand and he said, I'm so sorry you've been through this. And I guess I wasn't aware of how bad this experience really is. And it's not that it is because it's a part of your story. Yeah. And then we started working through it. And then you connected me with an amazing postpartum therapist, really, really specialized in helping women bridge this mostly very unfortunate, change of roles, or I don't know, a deepening of your role as a woman. And many, many couples over and over and over again, there are moments when I see that they're looking at me, like staring at me, and then your baby's so happy. Your baby's not grumpy like my baby. You seem so happy. I always tell them the truth.
Yeah.
And I say, it took time. I never had relationship issues up until the moment when the baby arrived. And as soon as I say that, oh my God, the same for me. My husband doesn't understand. I'm so sleep deprived. He is expecting me to excel in so many ways, and I just, can't. I'm so exhausted. And so just by carrying the baby, you are so it's so tiring, and it's beautiful, but it's so worrisome. You're constantly checking if the baby is okay. Is the baby moving? Your sleep is not the same quality as it used to be. You're very limited in your movements, and everything is about the baby.
Yeah.
Nothing is about you anymore. So when moms say this to me, I always want to be truthful. And we just had this conversation where I was walking with my baby yesterday, and there was another couple next to us. I was alone with my baby, and my baby recognized that there's another baby. And so she starts to converse.
That is so cute, isn't it, when they do that?
And like tries to touch with a little hand and so on. Oh, let me see, you're also new to this planet. Oh. And this baby was a very fresh baby of 2 weeks. And the mom said to me, oh, your baby's so beautiful, and you're so radiant. Oh, your body looks so good, and so on. And I said, oh, no, this is just now after some months. I said, how was your birth? How are you feeling? Are you okay? And immediately she became very emotional, and she looked at her husband, and she said, well, it didn't quite go as planned. I had to get induced. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I know the pain. I was induced. And she said, yes, I was over-induced. They gave me too much. And I said, oh my goodness, the same happened to me. And she said, unfortunately, I didn't react well to the drugs, and I ended up with a C-section. And her husband was so awkward. He couldn't look at me. He couldn't look at her. He was looking around at seeing if there's a bird that he can stare at. And she kept on with her very sad expression, tried to capture his attention and really indirectly say, please, can you help me? And then, I did share with her a couple of the things that helped me. Of course, trying to be sensitive because every story is different. Yeah. So giving suggestions and saying, well, I just nursed my baby to sleep, or like, well, you're supposed to do this and this doesn't work. But what does work is empathy. And this is what lacks, is empathy, understanding, and really overall most basic level of education as to what the woman is going through and what she needs. So the mood swings and anxiety and terrible anxiety and mood swings and happy moments and really sad baby blues, those are all normal parts of becoming a mom and growing into motherhood. And this,
let's make those things real.
Let's validate them because they are real. Faking it is not real. And men asking questions, what is wrong with you?
And what are the chances of you meeting that woman in the park?
Correct.
With such a similar birth story.
Yes.
It's almost like this great sisterhood of women is bringing you together.
Correct.
So that you can support this woman. And,
yes.
You looking fantastic and her feeling not fantastic.
And I know
but still
how
being honest enough to
exactly
say to her, hey, you know what? I know what's that.
Exactly. Like. Also, this the feeling of guilt that we feel towards our partners. Yeah. Oh my goodness, am I still attractive? Everything down there is
working.
Yes, and you never want to neglect them. You also know that they get moody because there's some sort of jealousy or adjustment for them when they're like, when in the process of them realizing, oh, there's another baby.
Yeah.
Well, another baby.
Yeah,
I said it right. Another baby.
It's nice to see you again.
Yeah. Do you want to go to Jen? Do you want to give Jen a big hug?